Mhm, mhm. All right, y'all. We are getting ready for our second Artivist Talk with. We're gonna get ready to have them logged in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Bonafide Rojas, who was speaker number one. Boom, boom. There my guy goes.
Yo,
He's
yo,
tapped in.
yo, yo.
Microphone check, my guy. Good evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With gratitude and love, we're gonna give a few minutes for people to join in. Shout out to Jamira. Shout out to Vegan Kings in the building. Welcome y'all. If you feel like someone needs to hear this talk, I guarantee you some jewels and gems are there. Please spread that. We'll give a minute. This brother needs no introduction, but I'm gonna do my best. And I
Yeah, I'm
appreciate
sharing it.
y'all.
I'm sharing it to people right now too.
Yes, yes.
Sending it to everybody.
We'll give it a little minute and we'll get it in. But first and foremost, met this brother, I think even less than 2 years, been in this very, very short amount of physical time. I've seen a lot. I've witnessed a lot. I have bear witness, more importantly, a couple facts before we get started. This is my neighbor, his fellow Queensian from Southside originally, but represents the North Side out here in Queens.
Yo,
A
the
true,
West
true.
Side, man. West Side Queens,
He's
man.
in the West. He's in the Northwest. He's out here. He's doing what he got to do. He's representing. But I've seen him do many different things, through hunger strikes, through vegan festivals, through just serving community, through the grief support group, through doing things with partnerships, collaboration with the vegan community and beyond, serving his neighborhood. He is a local legend, and beyond local, he is a world healer. He coins the term Heartivist. We have Artivist here, but this is our first Heartivist, so we're gonna get into that once we get started. But once again, this is just a true, true honor and privilege to have this man speaking, because he lives up to me the word artivism and heartivism, and he is a giant heart. He brings love. He brings nothing but his true, authentic self. He's no stranger to the adversities, and he balances the sun and the rain. And one thing you can always count on this man to do is to come with authenticity and show love, which is
Shit.
huge, huge
Yo,
thing. So I think we're feeling really good. I want to pass the mic to my brother to introduce himself and tap in and just let us know a little bit about how he's feeling today and who he is, and we're gonna just take it from here. But thank you guys for joining. Appreciate all of y'all.
oh man. Um, I've been crying all day. Right, it
Mm.
was a day filled with tears and anger and a lot of emotion. But we here. I'm happy to be here. I'm Lashawn Suga Ray Marston. 39 years old. Be 40 in a couple of weeks. All right, March 14th is my 40th birthday, man. Grateful, right? Grateful to still be here. I'm a dad. I am an artist at heart from the core. I think my mom said I've been writing poetry since I was like 4 years old. Right, 4 or 5 years old, I was writing poetry. 6, 7, 8 years old, I was, having my cousin and my siblings, and my nephew who's older than me. I was having them reenact scenes from movies and from shows, right? So I've always been in my director's flow, right? Always been a creator since the beginning. My aunt said when I was like maybe 7, 8 years old, maybe even younger than that, but I was in Southside, and we was on 109 and 157 in front of my grandfather's house, and I said I wanted to be an astronaut, a doctor, a lion tamer, and a superstar. And it's crazy because she said this 2 years ago, right? And she said you're doing all of those things just in a different way.
Mm.
All right. So yeah, man, that's who I am. I'm a guy who wants to do everything. I want to do as much as I can, right? While I'm here. They told me when I was younger, you could be anything you want to be. So I said, why not be everything? So I just strive to, live my life to its fullest, right? In every emotion and every stage, just like you said, be authentic and be full. So that when I go empty. But yeah, that's who I am, man. I'm happy to be here with you, brother. Why?
Ah,
You also have done
thank you,
incredible
man.
things, you know what I mean, here on the Artivist Talk, man, creative
Ooh.
expressions. Appreciate you, man. Let's get it going.
Ooh, let's
Thank
get
you guys for tuning
it
in.
on. So the
Too.
first thing I had to start with is the terms we use. Right here on Artivist Talks, we ask people what are the things to describe. I threw out two things, which were Heartivist and World Healer. I know those are two things. A lot, and these are days where people say, I'm a videographer, I'm a audio engineer, I'm a guitarist, right? But you use those two powerful things, and I just want you to break down to the folks like what those mean to you and why you identify with that and present yourself in those ways as both
Mm.
artivist and world healer.
So I mean, I guess I will start with World Healer first, right? 91, Michael Jackson came out with the song Heal the World, and I was 7 years old. And I remember watching, I think it was the concert or something like that, right? And I remember saying, like, that's what I want to do when I get older, right? Like, and it was maybe like 2 years later, a year or two later, when I realized I couldn't sing or dance, right? So it wasn't that. I wanted to have the impact, right? I wanted to have the impact. I wanted to positively impact people with my words, right? With my expressions, like Michael did, right? Through his music, through his dance, right? So through a life of trials and tribulations, I want to say maybe in 2010, maybe 2011, right? So again, let me go back. So I went through all of the stuff, man. I've been in prison, been shot, sold drugs, right? Sat with a gun to my head, contemplating suicide. I went to prison in 04 to 07, came home, changed my life in 2008. And when changing my life, right, I knew that I wanted to make the world a better place, right? You know, I was Suga Ray, right? Like smooth, understanding, right? Always, right? Gentlemen, always a ray of light from the sun. So like my life's mission is to bring light and to bring life and to make spaces more vibrant, to make people happier, right? So fast forward now, going back to about 2010, 2011, maybe. I don't know how. I just was like, yo, I'm the world healer, right? It was like, you know, I think it came when just realizing that everyone's a leader. Yes, everyone has agency over their own life. Yes, but I don't even know if it's unfortunate. It's just life happens in a way where sometimes people need somebody to look up to, right? People need somebody to say, yo, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm going to be the person, come with me, right? Everyone doesn't have the confidence, the skill set, the desire to even want to, like, you know, even lead their own lives, right? Like some people want to be led, right? Whether we can say that's right or wrong or whatever. But so it was you know, realizing that I say, you know what, I am world healer. Like I'm healing the world, right? I'm going to do my part to make the world a better place, right? Today and tomorrow. And so yeah, actually got it tattooed on my right hand, right? You can't see it obviously here, but right, world healer, right? Like so that's who I am. That's who I am. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to heal the world. Now, Artivist, right? So like I said, I'm an artist like through and through, right? By nature, right? Like I have a vision in my heart, in my spirit, in my mind that I work effortlessly, tirelessly to like bring into the physical realm, right? I got activism from my father and my granddad, right? My granddad in Southside used to make sure that all of the people in the neighborhood had turkeys, right? He made sure that the children had toys or books, right? He made sure that people had what they needed. When my dad passed in 2000, my dad passed in 95, man. My brain is jacked up. Like I said, it's been an emotional day, man. I've been crying all day, so pardon all the slip-ups. But when my dad passed in 95 in August, my brother took me to the Million Man March that October, right? So I was 11 years old at the Million Man March, right? Million black people, right? Black men specifically, right? Predominantly. And just inspired, right? Like, I know in my neighborhood, there's some people that's together, but I also know we getting killed and we killing each other, right? I know that we selling drugs to each other, right? I know that, but I also know that from my grandfather's stories, right? From seeing my uncles, right? From being around my dad, I knew that like there was a space where we did unite, where we did come together. Although it wasn't always every day in my face, I knew that it existed. Going to the Million Man March, it like solidified that for me, right? So again, fast forward, all the stuff happened in my teenage years, right? The harming other black men, being harmed by other black men, right? Like all of the trials and tribulations of the streets. And when I changed my life in 2008, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to make the world a better place. I wanted to make my life better first, and then I wanted to make my neighborhood better, right? Like help my friends who were going through the same things I was going through. And I said, you know what? I care. I care about my community, right? Like the first thing I did actually, I bought a video camera from a crackhead. But a video camera from a crackhead turned the crack house into a film studio, right? Was filming. I was filming BS at first, like BS skits, you know, stupid stuff on the block, popping bottles, right? Crackhead fighting, stupid stuff. But then I realized that I have a voice and I can address issues in my community. Like, we killing each other, we should stop. We selling drugs to each other, and that's not okay, right? And so trying to figure out, like, how do I blend my artistry and my activism, right? Like, how do I blend my love for creativity with my love for, like, my people and humanity and want to make the world a better place? And then I realized that in order to make the world a better place, you have to create it. Or you have to be creative, right? You have to have creative thought process, a creative approach, right? In order to improve systems that we live with and under, right? And so it was like, okay, artivism, right? It was like artivism, right? Marry those two. Years later, right, as I identify as an artist, you know, an activist and artivist, as I'm successful as both, right? You know, it came to me, it was like, something's missing, right? Because you can be an artist, right? You can paint, you can draw, you can dance, right? You can be an activism, you can be active around the environment, you can be active around animals, you can be active around, you know, climate change, right? Things like that, a bunch of different things. However, I realized that what was missing was human services, right? Like human services, right? Like providing the basics for humanity, right? Food, clothing, shelter, mental and emotional stability, right? Like those are the basics, right? And it was like, the heart is what's missing, right? Like, we got the art, we got the activism, but the heart, the center, right? Because like, if people don't got what they need, they're not creating the art, right? If their basic needs ain't met, they're not creating the art. If their basic needs are not met, they're not caring about the other issues going on in the world, even that's affecting them, right? If my basic needs ain't met, if now I can have food, I can have clothing, I can have shelter, but mental and emotional stability, if that's not there, then my housing is falling apart, but I don't care. Because it's like, this is what it is, right? The kids are shooting each other on the block. I hear it, I cry about it, but like, what can I do about it? Because like, I'm stressed out. So it was like, nah, we have to, right? So yeah, that's how the term Artivist and Artivism was born, was blending art, activism, human services, and social justice.
No, I had to throw the hearts up on there for that, man.
Appreciate
No,
you,
this is
brother.
real, brother, and I'm so honored that you were able to take something that's there. And that's leading me to my next question, right? Your style of activism is really something that hit me in my heart, you know, pun intended, that a lot of people use these words that we use, right? We're not the only ones to use these things. Hardivism, of course, you might be one of the rare ones that do use
I
that
am, I
one.
think so.
So
I
I
don't think
like
it
that you
exists
even
yet.
said, I'm going to separate myself from the pack. I believe your style of activism is, to me, you know, just to say it in the raw way, I say it's that pure, raw, uncut, because it is so action based. It's not based on like a result of a petition. It's not based on an approval from a systemic structure that may be rooted in oppression. I just see what you do and the way you live. It's a lifestyle, man.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you come to separate yourself from the
Well,
norm, right? Because like you said, it started at the Million Man March. There were things that were more traditional. There were protests, but you also, to me, you hit a hard, you know, you took it into, I see it in your day-to-day interactions when you talk to somebody in the store, when you walk in a bridge and somebody says, yo, Suga Ray, you just stop and you be present with them on that bench. And I was like, this is real activism to me, you know, but
mm-hmm.
how did you, you know, and I'm sure it wasn't an overnight process,
Yeah.
right? It was a way or a pedagogy, if you will, that is your style of
Yeah.
activism. And I would love for you to just share insights to anybody who checks us out on how you're able to really just make a difference and live it versus waiting for the government, waiting for this to happen, because you're very action
So
based and
I
not theory.
love that you use the word pedagogy, right? I forgot the guy's name. Pedagogy of the Oppressed,
Paulo
right? Like, I've
Freire,
read all of these
yeah.
books. Yes. So I mean, I'm gonna start with, bro, I've been around everybody. I've been around the Buddhist monks, right? I've been around the Nation of Islam, right? The Black Muslims. I've been around the Indian Muslims, right? I've been around the Christians. I've been around the Jews, right? I've been around the Bloods, the Crips, right? I've been in prison, right? I've been in church, right? Like, I've been around the super religious people. I've been around the atheists, right? I've been around the people in the streets who sell drugs, who will kill somebody but won't steal. I've been around the people who will steal, who won't kill, right? I've been around the women who having sex with 1,000 men but talk about loyalty. Like, I've been around everything, right? Like, the full scope of life, right? And to me, so it's something you say, activism is activating your organism to its highest potential, right? That's it. right? That's activism, is being engaged with your own life and the lives of those around you, right? And being engaged in the practices, right? The practices, the systems that impact the lives of those around you, directly or indirectly. And I realized, right, in 2008, right,
Mhm.
shout out to Erica Ford, big time world renowned activist. Shout out to Jeffrey Davis, big time world renowned activist, right? Shout out to all of the brothers and sisters who guided me, right? Who brought me in, guided me, right? Gave me direction, gave me a platform to speak, platform to share, to express what I was thinking, feeling, right? As a young brother coming into the movement. But what I realized that a lot of the activism people call activism is really reactivism,
Mm.
right? They'll react to a situation, right? And they're reacting to situations that because of the young people that are killing each other, because of the people that are in prison, they got to create programs, right? And it's like, I understand it. However, in my head, it was like, okay, what do people need, right? What do people need? And not so much what they've been through, what they don't have, what didn't have that led them to a current situation. What do they need in general? Right? If they had everything, what would they still need? They would still need community. They would still need each other. They would still need someone to listen to them. They would still need a place to share, right? They would still need
Mm-hmm.
guidance, right? They would still need food, clothing, shelter. They would still need love, right? They would still need people, right? So it was like what I was seeing, what I was learning, what I grew up hearing about, right? And watching Al Sharpton in my neighborhood, right? Like what I grew up seeing, it was like, that's reactivism, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to
Yes.
be reactive. I want to be proactive, right?
Mm.
I want to recognize and address. I want to recognize and just move forward. And forget even deeper than recognizing, I just want to have a plan for life, right? Like what I want to be healthy as I possibly can. So I'm not creating stuff to react to the illness. Yes, we might do that sometimes too, but we just want to build, right? Based on the vision that we have, that is, yes, connected to, but also sometimes separate than what's going on immediately around us. Does that make sense?
Mm. I love that, brother, and I appreciate it. That's gonna lead me into another point that I want to add on to, because once again, you got your hands dirty in this and you do it right. Would you say that there was something, because once again, these broad strokes sometimes miss the day-to-day everyday actions, right? And once
100%.
I am very privileged to say I've seen it and you put it in action, right? You've cooked for me, you've come to game nights, you first event, I didn't even know you donated like $100. You were like, wow, if I had more, I'd give you it all. Is there anything, I know it's your life that did it, but I call it the tipping point, a great Roots album, a great book also, by the way. Was there anything that got you to just really, or was there any moments that occurred in your life? I know you mentioned, rest in peace, Pop Dukes. You grew up in one of the most legendary neighborhoods in New York City and in the world, Queensbridge. Was there any specific things that led you to get to that way? Because once again, some people you mentioned and others in there, they might do activism for a while, but they don't get to that point where they can make it hit the way you hit. So I just want you to give us any insights on how, because you really turned that lemon to lemonade and you just didn't stop and you continue to evolve, man. So I really want to just get into your mindset in this, or if there were any things that you were like, nah, this wasn't it, or you saw something that you were reaction and you just did it. Like, what got you into that doing mindset and just serving so deeply your local community? Some people
Mm.
stay on global aspects, things that are far, but you really go right where you're from, right where you're at, right to the locals, and
Mm.
you make your
Well,
impact felt where you live. So please
well, I
elaborate.
mean, so starting there, right? Act locally, think globally, right? Act local, think global. The only way to make the world a better place is to make the continents better. Only way to make the continents better are to make the countries better. Only way to make the countries better are to make the states better. Only way to make the states better is the cities, the communities, and so on and so forth. So we got to get down to the small fragment, right? The only way to make the world a better place is essentially for you to become the best person that you could possibly be, and then inspire and impact others around you to do the same. So you have to start local. If you want to make the world a better place, you have to start local. Why? Because those are people. Those are people who have ideas. Those are people who feel, who hurt, who cry, who laugh, who need food, right? So any issue you want to solve freaking hunger, right? You want to solve poverty in Africa. I want to go save the children in Africa. I understand it, but understand how the policies being created here in America are impacting the children in Africa being in poverty, right? So you still have to start local, right? You have to start local, but I get it. In order to start local, you got to really care, and we don't really care about each other. That's what it is. People don't really care about each other. People want to go far away because it's easy to be like, yeah, people want to separate themselves, right? And I understand it, but it's like, nah, like you are part of a human family. And although you may be a little different than the people on your block, right? You may not do the same thing. You may have a different diet. You may have a different religious practice, right? You may have different sexual orientation, right? Like there may be many differences. However, you're still human. And you still have the same basic needs, right? But it's easy to go out and be like, yo, I'm gonna help those people over there, right? I mean, we do it all the time. People go help others when they need help, right? It's always easy to go outward than to go in and to deal with the people closest to you, right? So that's what it was for me. And then you asked, was there any point that led me there? I really can't say, man. It was just a constant evolution, right? Like a continuous growth. Like I said, I remember being 4 years old in Southside with my granddad with shopping carts full of turkeys, walking through 40 projects, right? Walking down Guy Boulevard, right? Guy Boulevard. My grandfather still called the New York Boulevard until he died, right? Real the old Southside, right? But yeah, I don't really. It's always been in me, bro. If anything, I would say that I remember the day I changed my life, right? The day I decided to change my life. I remember being in a crack house, right? Again, I had turned the film studio into a crack house. I was still hustling at the time. My friends and I, we just finished drinking some Hennessy, smoking some weed, just recording some stupid stuff, right? I bought a bunch of costumes and we was like role playing and some stupid fun stuff, right? And I remember they all left and I was sitting there high and drunk and I turned the lights off. And then there was one light on behind the green screen. At the green screen, there was a light on behind it, and it was just on, right? It was on through the green screen. And there was a mirror in front of me. And I remember looking in the mirror, and it was like a spotlight on me, right? It was crazy. And the thoughts that went through my head, it was like, literally, spirit spoke. It was like, yo, if you keep doing this, right, either someone's going to call your mother and tell her that you are dead, right? Or you're going to call your mother and be like, yo, I ain't coming home for a long time. I killed somebody, right? And the spirit said, but if you just make a small adjustment, right? If you make a small adjustment, that life that you dreamed of, that you and your dad envisioned for you, right? Of superstardom, of like traveling the world, right? And like helping people and building businesses and doing all of these things, right? Making movies and writing books. If you just make a small change, stay consistent, eventually you can have that life. And that's what it was. Literally, I flushed my drugs, like $2,000 worth of drugs. I flushed down the toilet that night. I called my man, said, yo, I got a gun, come get it. You know what I mean? My man came and got that, right? And like life was different. And that was in 2008. That was like that was like late, early November 2008, because it was after Halloween, like a few days after Halloween. And yeah, life been different ever since, man. So if there was anything, it was that, right? Like committing, like making that commitment to change. Now, in terms of my approach, because initially my approach was, so the first organization I was a part of, as I mentioned, Erica Ford, she has Life Camp, right? And at the time, the campaign was Bury the Beef, I Love My Life, right? And it was all, the whole thing, stop the violence, we gotta stop killing each other, da 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 da. And I remember I remember being in Queensbridge. One of the younger brothers had shot the block up, right? Like shot the block up, right? Like kids outside, like mothers jumping under the bench with the baby in a stroller, right? Shot the whole shit up. And I remember addressing him about it. And he said, Suga Ray, man, don't talk to me about nothing, man. Don't tell me what I need to stop doing. You shot the block up too. I was like, ooh, you're right. Because I was like, yo, you can't be doing that shit, da 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 da. You can't, right? Because in my head at that point, I'm grateful because I was trying to separate myself, right? I was trying to separate myself from what I was used to. But that lesson that he gave me was valuable. It was like, nah, you did it too. So don't say what y'all can't do. From that moment on, I say we got to do better. We can't be doing shit like that. We, right? It's like, I'm not different than you guys, right? Or I'm different, but I'm not separate. Right, like, so we got to make it better because none of us want to go to jail. None of us want to die. We're all tired of losing our friends. Nobody wants their mother or their child to be shot by a stray bullet. So we all got to do better, right? So if it was any moment that shifted the way I worked, it was that, right? And literally, I think the week later, I got rid of all my Bury the Beef shirts, and I created a whole new movement, Live in Peace, realizing that outer peace starts with inside. The only way to make the world a better place is to go within. And I made bracelets, Live in Peace bracelets. I had Live in Peace t-shirts. I sold t-shirts. I sold bracelets. And yeah, man, since then, right, like, so again, if there was any moment, it was the moment in the crack house of changing my life, and then it was the moment with the young brother in the hood and telling me like, nah, what, you did it too. You can't tell me what I can't do when you did the same thing. Just because you change your life, like that don't fucking mean nothing. So yeah,
I love it, bro.
crazy.
Well, we got our first question from the legendary Vegan Kings. You don't want no problems with that vegan banana blossom, man. Vegan Kings, we know about it. Suga Ray's got it in it. And he asked the question, since you really went into a bit of your background, what would you change about yourself from what you've been through?
Nothing.
There you go.
Nothing. Right? Like,
And
I thought about this.
elaborate on that. Why would you keep it all, even through the darkness? Because you're a very vulnerable dude. You speak very openly about the highs as well as the lows equally. And I love how you say I wouldn't change it.
If there was
Elaborate on
only
that.
one thing I would change, and I'm glad Vegan Kings asked that, is I would have went vegan sooner. Right? I would have been more health conscious. Right? And clearly if I would have been more health conscious, everything will be different. So it all works out the way it's supposed to. So I'm grateful for how it is. But because in my head, I think about if I would have, because my dad passed, right, when I was 11, my older sister when I was 14. It took a few years, I mean, not that many years, but my grandfather passed when I was 19. So it was 5 years from any family member that had passed, right? If I would have been a little more health conscious, maybe I could have helped my grandfather. And then since then, I've lost 2 more siblings. Maybe I could have helped them, right? Now, my last 2 siblings, I was vegan, but I was also dealing with stuff, right? But I just think about if I would have, when my dad passed, if I wouldn't have been so angry, if I would have been able to tap in to the problem and then find a solution instead of just being angry, right, then maybe life would have been different for other people. But again, it all works out how it's supposed to, because if you change one thing, you change everything, right? Like, that's the butterfly effect. So, like, realistically, clearly, I wouldn't change anything, because let's say I go back and I'm vegan sooner, right? I help people in my family, but I die in a plane crash at 25 years old, right? Like, a million things can happen that end up with me not being here today. So I'm grateful, you know what I mean? It all works out how it's supposed to. But it's been a brutal fucking journey, bro. Like, to be honest. Brutal but beautiful.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, man. I really want to keep on going with thank you to Vegan Kings for that great question. He shouts out in the comments, everything happens in life to make you stronger. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but I'm appreciative to have you in my life. That's from Vegan
Yo,
Kings.
love
Love
you,
you,
brother.
King.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you, man. No, we appreciate you. Sugar Ray, man, vulnerability is a big part of your work, and I'm gonna connect this to the theme of artivism. I'm seeing a thread going on in your life right now and in this conversation. And I always like to go with the thread just like a song, right? We always get
Yeah.
it on with a song, it comes all along.
Bars.
How is this vulnerability, which I think is so strength, especially, you are a black man in society where they say boys don't cry, men don't cry. You just started the convo before it was even, I had a rough day, I was in tears all day. And that's what I consider you a real strong, real brother that I could turn to. Me and you have built in so many levels through ups and downs, highs and lows. What does the vulnerability come from, and how do you keep that present in your work? Because so many times, especially particularly men and particularly in the community and people of color, we tuck it to the side and we're like, nah, I gotta put this down. But you walk forward with that, lack of better term, like Lil Wayne said, with the heart on the sleeve, like it's my latest fashion. You bring that to your work and you don't ever deny it. I've heard you speak about, I'm going through things with my children, not being able to see them, but yet you still say the fight goes on. I continue to show up despite these things. And that's why I think your work is so strong, brother, because you're not trying to act like everything's moving smooth. I'm coming from housing court, but it was a good day, like Ice Cube style. So that vulnerability, bro, I think it's something, especially in us men, we're not really said to be vulnerable. We look frowned upon by even other men, or they said, oh, this is a weakness. But you step up with kindness and vulnerability within, it's omnipresent in your work, man. So I just need you to just take that and elaborate on that, on how you were able to keep that at the forefront of your work, you know, and not hide that or feel like you need to stash that.
Because when I've stashed it before, I exploded and I shot 9 shots at people who I loved. That's why. Right? And the first bullet, when I caught my case, the first bullet, when I pulled my gun out and I shot, the first bullet went in my aunt's window. Right? My aunt said of her husband, my Uncle Reggie, God bless his soul, she said if he would have been, I think he worked overtime that day, right? If he had his regular schedule, he would have been sitting in the chair, the bullet would have hit him in his fucking head. But he had overtime, so his schedule was different. So at the time that it happened, he was in the shower. Right? My aunt tells me that story. My aunt was so mad at me. She said, yo, you know that bullet you shot, that bullet came in my motherfucking house? I was like, wow. Right? I exploded. Why? Because my dad passed when I'm 11, my older sister when I'm 14. I see my first murder at like 8, 9 years old. I see one friend kill another friend at 16 years old, right? Another friend killed another friend at like 17 years old, right? Like issues with my mom, issues at school, mad issues. But I'm like, what? I'm good. Why? I'm selling drugs, I'm making money, right? Walking around with at least $1,000 in my pocket. Sometimes having sex with 2 girls in the same day, right? Like in my head, as a youth, as a young black man from the hood, like that's lit. When you got women, you got money, and you fly, you got everything, right? That's the conditioning, right? And so at the time, right, like I was good, but until I wasn't, and I remember exploding, and I remember my girl at the time when we spoke about it after, she said, "Yo, your eyes was bloodshot red. It was like the devil was in your eyes." Right. Right. So when you talk about vulnerability and why, is because that person is still there. Like we are who we are before we got here, right? That's a bar from Jay-Z, right? You was who you was before you got here. So before I became, right, and I like when in Taoism, right? In Taoism warriorhood, they talk about like being peaceful. You can only be peaceful when you are capable of extreme violence. Other than that, you are just a coward, right? Who's scared of confrontation. So I'm peaceful because I'm that person who was extremely violent is still there, right? But I know that I don't want none of that smoke. Forget everybody else. I don't want none of that smoke with that person, right? Like I don't want to let that person free, let that person out, and now I'm sitting up in jail for 20 years because I done did something that I really didn't want to do. It was an in the moment type thing because I didn't express myself because I was angry at something else and I took it out in this way. Right? So why am I vulnerable? Is because if I don't be vulnerable, if I don't express myself, I don't care who's there, I don't care what a person feels about me expressing myself. If I don't do it, right, then the alternative is sometimes deadly for me, right? Forget somebody else, for me, right, is deadly. So like I have to, bro. Like and there's power in radical vulnerability and radical, right? Like being radically vulnerable, like sharing the things that like nobody wants to share. There's power in that. Like, and you can, I don't know if you can hear my voice. Like my voice, I'm in the brink of tears. Like I said, I was crying all day, right? Off and on, right? Like yelling, right? Like real angry today. But like I knew I had to express it because if I don't get it out, if I don't take it out and let it breathe, right? If you don't, it's gonna fester and it's gonna come out in another way that I don't want to deal with. So yeah, that's why I'm vulnerable, man.
Woo.
You know.
Yo, I hope y'all are picking it up, man. I'm gonna reiterate some of the jewels. I had to throw the snow up on there. Like, these are gems dropping from the divine. It didn't take an easy life to get to this. It took very much adversity and difficulty. I'm gonna use the word. I see my man Guaz
ABC.
in the
I was about to say
chat. Go on, brother.
ABC. No, I was gonna say right. You said adversity, right? Something we say after my niece Tayshawn and Chicken Murphy got killed, right? ABC. Adversity builds character, right? Adversity builds character. So, but yeah, go ahead. I just brought that up because you said
Oh,
adversity.
thank you, brother. There's another thread. I'm following the thread of the heart to that. I'm gonna use this word, transmogrification, which is the ability. You are taking the exact ingredients. My pops was killed. I haven't had access to my kids. I was selling drugs. I shot up my neighborhood. These are the usual bullet points that lead people. You locked up, you dead, you this or that. You're taking those exact ingredients, brother, and making Artivism and World Healer, right? A lot of people use the exact stories that you mentioned to justify vibrating on a lower frequency, killing our own, doing those. You took the same ingredients. It was like you gave everybody the
But
same recipe.
that's
But
only because, but why I
what
gotta jump in? That's
is
only
it?
because
Jump in.
I'm fortunate enough to have lived long enough, right? Because if my story ends, so March 9th would be 17 years, right? I changed my life 2008, the end, so like 16 years. But if my life ends in 2008 summer, then I'm a piece of shit who sold drugs to his people and carried a gun, right? So I just happen to live long enough, right? It's just, it's not me, right? Like, it's me that recognized, right? Had the awareness of like, all right, whoa. But like some of my friends, I was just saying yesterday, I have some friends who are not here no more who I believe in my whole heart, they were better people than me. They had better hearts than I have, right? They were maybe more creative, more talented naturally than I am, right? But they just didn't live long enough to have the opportunity to change, right? And then maybe they wasn't presented with the same opportunities, right? I'm fortunate, I'm from the hood, right? Like, grew up both parents, right? My dad had a house. My mom ended up having an apartment in Queensbridge. My granddad had a house. But I went to Pennsylvania. I was part of Fresh Air Fund. So I went to Pennsylvania every summer. Stayed with a white family on the farm, right? In a big house with a backyard pool, horses. I went horseback riding. They bought me a four-wheeler, right? I had an aunt in Long Island, Surrey Estates, wealthy black neighborhood, right? So again, I'm fortunate, bro, that like life happened the way it happened for me, that I had the tools and then I lived long enough to be able to access them, right? To be able to actually use the tools. Some people just don't live long enough, and that's what makes it really sad. Is like, damn, like they didn't even have a chance to figure it out.
That says a lot, brother. That says volumes. And I want to reiterate, anybody, if you see somebody like Suga Ray said, if his story would have ended at 25 or ended during his bid, he's just another stereotype. But the test of time, he lived long enough where most people didn't. He also pointed out the blessings that were happening in his life, as well as the amazing things that he has come to I don't even want to say overcame, but to transmogrify, to use it. But if y'all see somebody who's there, just remember that sometimes people need time. Be
That's it.
gracious with people. Be empathetic to them. Understand that they might just be on a vibrational frequency that time can take care of. And if you could be that one person to give them that grace, give them that grace moment. And I want to go back into your community, Suga Ray. You are very well respected and recognized. You can't walk down the blocks without somebody, stopping you over. I see it in every time we pretty much walk, right? You are very community oriented in the literal sense. You are active in this physical vicinity that you are in. And what keeps you there? A lot of people, when they think of making it, they're like, oh, I'm gonna get out of the hood, or I'm gonna this. You, even though you moved out of Queensbridge, you still show up there. You do the grief support groups there. You are actively serving this community without abandoning them. There's a lot of changes that have happened to LIC and Astoria. You're part of things like the Queens Community Land Trust and these things. You slept out in front of the buildings. The story goes on. I could say my versions of it, but what gets you really doing it locally and not abandoning it, or just because you could have done the Majora Carter way or this one and say, yo, I'm OT for the keynotes. I'm not gonna call out any names, but yo, I'm on this thing. I'm standing up for this thing and that, and they remove themselves from the area. They profit off of that activism. You have that skill and you've had those opportunities and experiences, but you still come back to where your roots are. And that's one thing that is so admirable why I did the Vegan Fest with you, hands down, because you was like, why? Even if one gets hit, I'm here. I'm serving up the food. Even if you don't get a thank you or you don't get nothing, you relentlessly serve this community. And that is not ordinary, my dude. People, once they get a little bit of thing, they try to move as far away from that. But you were going toward that. Where does that come from, my brother?
I mean,
What's that?
it comes from my parents, right? My parents, my granddad. Never forget where you come from, right? Them saying that, right? Drilling that in my head, and always take care of your people, right? And my people, right? So I like Booker T. Coleman or Brother Kaba Kamini said, wherever Africans are, no, he said, wherever Africans are, Africa is, and wherever Africa is, I am home, right? And so like, Queensbridge is home, right? Like it's I wouldn't be who I am without Queensbridge, right? Like the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Like so I wouldn't be me if I abandoned my community, right? And I've had opportunities, right, to go places and do other things, right? Where like, and obviously, you know, I do travel, right? But I come back home. Why? Because the most important thing is not so much to make it, but it's to lift up a whole community, right? That's the most important thing to me, right? Because I made it, right? Like making it is what's making it. To me, making it, right? Number one is subjective, right? It's subjective and relative, but making it for me was changing my life, right? Figuring out who I was, right? What my purpose was. I did that. Develop a relationship with the creator, right? Like where do I come from? Like why am I here? I figured that out, right? And to make my mother proud, right? To get a healthy relationship with my mother and make her proud. I did that. So I made it, right? Like I made it, right? Like by all intents and purposes of the word, I made it. So it's like, okay, now what? You made it, now what? Now you build. Now you built up a community. What community? The community that gave you the most, right? Because I can go anywhere and build a community, right? You can go anywhere and serve and liberate, right? And make more money, but it ain't about that. It's about giving back, right? And building up the people who poured into you. Pour into those who poured into you. Queensbridge poured into me, right? Although I've been through all of the stuff, there was some elders in Queensbridge, there were some adults in Queensbridge who absolutely poured into me, right? Big Chick, right? May he rest in peace. He took me to my first doctor's appointment when I was 14 years old, right? 13 years old, 14 years old. I think I was maybe 13 years old, right? My dad had passed, right? Because I would have told my dad, but like I didn't feel comfortable with my uncles. But like had sex with a girl, and they told me like, yo, this girl might, you know what I mean, have something. Go get a checkup, right? Who did I call? I called the elder in my neighborhood, right? He set the appointment up, took me to the doctor on a Saturday, right? Like, come on, you know what I mean? So like, just continuing the tradition, showing people in my community what it is to be a man, right? What it is to be an adult, right? To not even so much to be a leader, because everyone is that in their own right, but to be human and to care, right? To care is to serve, right? Serve who? Serve everyone, starting where? Starting locally, right? If you can't do it locally, you do it to the community that gave you. Because I get it sometimes locally, right? Depending on where people live, it looks different, right? It looks different, sounds different, feels different. I understand it, but I'm fortunate enough that you know New York is New York, and Queensbridge is always just a hop, skip, and a jump away, all right? But yeah, man, like Queensbridge is a community full of people who are royal who just don't know that they're royal, right? Queensbridge is a palace, right? Queensbridge is a palace filled with kings and queens, princes and princesses who just don't know who they are, right? And so like my work is to remind them, right? My work is to present to them like what's possible if you believe in yourself, what's possible if you look beyond your current circumstance, right? What's possible if you're not afraid to distance yourself from the conditioning of what you should be or how you should be or how you should respond as a young man or woman, right? Like that's who I am. And so like again, what better place other than Queensbridge, right? Like Queensbridge where it's 3,000 people selling drugs and 2,500 of them got a gun, right? To like help liberate. So that's why, man.
Oh, thank you, man. I want to
Yo, Blue
reiterate
Mamba,
some couple
peace,
bullet
peace,
points.
peace, bro, peace, bro.
Yes,
Peace,
yes.
sister.
Peace to the Blue
See what's
Mamba.
up to the sister
Yeah.
Kenosha. My girl said that's
Shout
his
out to Kenosha.
foundation.
Shout out to Emily in here.
Shout
Shout
out
out
to
to
Emily. Shout out
Jamie.
to Jamie.
Yeah, everything shameless. We out
E
here. CB
Major, what's
Raspberry.
good?
We got the shout outs. Now, you're very loved, my brother, and thank you for just dropping those gems. I want to once again pull back to some of those points. You said that community was involved in you when you needed to go to that doctor's appointment at 14. You were able to find something. I love how you said you see that your neighborhood was full of kings and queens. You saw the value in it and see the value in it without someone else telling you that, right? That's usually what people take a blind eye to. I know you've done a lot of different projects. I mentioned a couple of them earlier: hunger strikes, vegan festivals, grief support groups. I do want to let people who might not be familiar with what the actual, how you actually display your heartivism and world healing, to let them know some of those, what I call nuts and bolts tools that you use. And you've been doing these things consistently. The grief support is every Thursday. This is in the community
Yeah,
center, right? A lot of your things are food giveaways. They're based on food, right? I really want you to just, whatever's on your heart, man, just let people know some of the nuts and bolts of the puzzle pieces that are your work and your heartivism and world healing.
Part of it, I'm trying to get the light right. Like it looks, because I've realized I look dark. I don't want to look dark. Hold on. Give me 1 second. See if I could fix this
Take
real
your
quick.
time. And y'all, if y'all haven't tapped in, tap in with Suga Ray, man. Look him up. Go to his website, Lashawn Suga Ray Marston. It's in the link in his bio. You can check out a lot. He's got a lot going on, and he continue. If I don't see this guy in a few, trust me, he's involved in something deep. He's advocating. He's doing the work with it. But I want him to once he got the light right, we're gonna
Yes, I
make
think
sure
it's
that
okay.
yeah, he's ready. He's ready. He's
Appreciate
got the
you.
$1 million smile. But yeah, talk to us about some of the
Um,
nuts and bolts of the tools that you have been using to
yeah,
continue
man. I,
this work.
I mean, we've done everything, man. We've protested, we've done demonstrations, right? Obviously, I did a hunger strike, right, sleeping out, to raise awareness, right, to bring attention to a cause. Yeah, I came up with the idea for a grief support group many years ago. Was finally able to start implementing it back in 2022, right, the end of 2022. So it's almost a year and a half. Every Thursday we've been doing it, co-facilitating with my girl, Two Feathers, right, my partner, my love.
Shout out to Two
Right, we've
Feathers.
been doing that, right? She's brought tremendous value there with sound baths and things like that, right? Just again, her own shared experience dealing with grief. Vegan Festival, we just did the 3rd year last year, right? Did that. Prior to the festival, we was doing Wednesdays and Fridays, vegan food giveaways. We was getting
Mm-hmm.
food from Urban Vegan Kitchen through Queens Together, and I forgot the other foundation that was sponsoring that, but through with the People's Bodega and with Free Store Astoria, little libraries, man. We was doing things on Fridays, Queensbridge Community Builders, giving out books, clothes, vegan food. We was doing that for a couple of years. What else, man? I mean, we've done so much, man. Currently for the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been leading meditation sessions, teaching mindfulness to a group of young people, young filmmakers who are impacted by the justice system in Manhattan with Echoes of Incarceration, incredible organization doing phenomenal work. Um, like you said, just through my daily life,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, I've made
Yeah.
films, right? I've acted in films, I've acted in stage plays, I've made films, I've written, directed, films, produced films, uh, yeah, just through my daily life, man, right? Inviting friends over, right? I provided space for people to sleep in. I fed people, right?
Mm-hmm.
My own food in my home. Um, just, you know, world healing is again is a lifestyle. Is a lifestyle leading with love, right? King's Corner with CCD. Shout out to Blue Mamba, all right, for mentioning that. All right, been involved with them guys for the last couple of months. Facilitated a group in Woodside last month, right? Which was really dope. But yeah, man, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. We've done a lot over the years, man. We've done a lot over
Yeah.
the years.
The
Like I was
resume
part
is
of
heavy, my brother,
like
my
no,
brother. Love it.
I was part of farm school, 2 year certificate program and learning
Shout out
urban
to Farmer
agriculture.
Yarn.
That's with Just Food NYC. They created that to teach New Yorkers how to grow food, right? How to farm.
Mm-hmm.
So did botany and chemistry and the business of farming and carpentry, learning how to build the raised bed and right irrigation. I put irrigation systems in for a couple of different farms throughout the city, right? So you mentioned vegan. I'm vegan, right? So I care about people, the climate, and the animals, right? So pushing just not so much food awareness, but I mean essentially it's awareness, right? It's how you as a being, how you as a living being, how you're interacting with the world around you,
Mm.
right? With the climate, the environment, and with the animals, and how your interactions with them impact them, but also it has also a byproduct impact on you today and of your children tomorrow. So like recognize the dynamic in the ecosystem, right? Um, but yeah, man, it's been so much, man. I was part of a they have the Immokalee farm workers in Immokalee, Florida, right? And we had a fair wage campaign that we did a couple years ago. And the farm workers in Immokalee, Florida, they pick all of the tomatoes for all of the fast food restaurants in the country, right? And they wanted 1 cent more per penny. No, they wanted, sorry, 1 cent more per penny. They wanted 1 penny more per pound of tomatoes that they harvested. And McDonald's said yes. Burger King said yes. Taco Bell said yes. Everybody said yes except for Wendy's. So we went to Ohio and we went to Minnesota to march on Wendy's headquarters, right? These are Mexican people, right? I don't understand them, and they speak no English. They don't understand me, but I was one of the leaders, right? They felt the passion, like, and I felt, right? Like, I felt their story, their pain. It was like, yo, like, some of their women are being treated horrendously, right? Like, they illegal, right? They're working on a farm, right? Like in Florida, right? They're hot. They're working sometimes 18 hours a day, right? Like, they don't have the health insurance, right? Like, some of the women, right? The families are being threatened where if the women don't have sex with the men, the people, they send the family back, right? Like, to where they came from, right? They're being threatened with that. And so, like, me understanding that, it was like, nah, I gotta stand with these people, right? Just to get 1 cent more per pound of tomatoes. So yeah, man, like, we've done a lot. I've studied with Priest of Ifa. I've been in Vegas in the Ifan temple where I helped sacrifice two chickens and two chickens and a hen, right? It's been through a lot, man. I've seen a lot. I've been part of a lot, my brother.
Wow, man. Brother, I see something deep in this situation. To combat isolation, you use the tactic of collaboration.
Collaboration.
So
Bars.
it takes a village when you cross that line of scrimmage before you get diminished.
Fact.
Collaboration is a huge part of your work.
Collaboration is key.
So I want you to elaborate
Yo,
on the situation with collaboration.
Listen. Let me help people understand this. I know I'm great, right? Like, I know that. Can't nobody tell me different, right? I didn't always know that, but now I know fully, right? Through and through, I'm great. However, no matter how great I am, I can never fully accomplish the goals I set out to accomplish without collaborating with other great people, right? So, like, your greatness means nothing. You have to collaborate, right? That's how you build, right? Like, it's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? I love that. But I also like to build it and argue that even if you want to go fast, you go with a team. You don't go by yourself, right? You go with other people, go in that direction. You want to build a business, you want to make $100 million. The fastest way to get it is to collaborate with other people with the same goals. They want to build a business, make $100 million. Okay, chances are we'll get there faster together than if I do it on my own. On my own, I might never get there. But together, right? Like, my motto is together we rise. Right, because we absolutely rise together. Oh snap! the light went out. Oh, give me 1 second. Let me. Oh man, hold on.
Let that gem sink in, y'all. So collaboration is a situation for the motivation, elevation, demonstration. I told them I was gonna bring the music into the interview. This is real life, not an interlude. This is my dude. A real life situation. The lights came on. We talking about collaboration, my guy. Like, wow, bro. I really want you to know that you inspired me to take these interviews more musical and just like when we was in the stoop. I just was like, I'm gonna let people know that we are artists here. We're gonna show forth the art. Man, this goes by grease lightning with you, man. I could do 100 of these with you, man. I just feel like we just always, that's how you know when it comes from the core. All I see is fire emojis and 100 emojis of hearts flying in, man. This is how I know you are such a potent being and experience. I do want you to, whatever's on your spirit that you want to share with the people, it could be about just something that's on your heart, on your mind. It may be a word of wisdom. It may be something coming up. You're involved in a lot of projects that need awareness, and you're involved with a lot of collaborators, as we said. But I do want to give you these last couple minutes to just get with it and just shout out what you need, or really, just give people whatever you got for this last, man. Once again, I could listen to you speak all day. It's truly a privilege and honor. So I want to hold space for you to, express whatever's on your mind. If there's any one or thing you need to shout out or any call to action, we're going to throw this on the YouTube and make the clips out of it too. Shout out to everybody who's watching this. We see y'all, man.
Stop fronting, right? Like, a lot of people front, right? A lot of people front. People say they care about people, yet they feed them terrible food, right? People say that they care about their community, yet they'll let a situation develop before they work to address it, right? Like really care about people, right? Like be a better human, right? I'm working to be a better human. I know I have some stuff with me, right? To be honest with your shit, right? When you got some shit with you, recognize it. Be honest, right, with yourself first and foremost. So much. I'm really emotional, bro, right? And I want to. I think I said something yesterday to a brother, right? I think some right. I said something yesterday to a brother. It's so emotional, man, right? Like it's so fucking tough, man. Recognize that you are a whole human and that other people are whole humans, and that no matter what no matter what a person's role is in life, right? Like no matter what a person's title is, right? No matter what a person's connection to you is, understand that like we each have lives, and sometimes the shit could be over fucking whelming. And give space for that. Give space to yourself, right? Give space to others. Lean into vulnerability, right? Lean into the discomfort, right? Don't fight it. Recognize the balance of life, right? Like expect expect a lot out of yourself, but also know that all you got is this moment, right? All you got is this moment, and you have to give this moment space, right, to be what it needs to be. So if you got, right, you set high standards to accomplish certain goals by a certain time, but if something comes up, in the moment, you have to give that space. But also, right, this is the balance. Recognize when you're giving too much space and you avoiding being responsible and handling your business. So it's like be balanced, right? Like I think everybody should meditate more, right? Like I think everybody should meditate more. Recognize that meditation and stillness does wonders not just for your mind, your mental health, but your emotional health, and it affects your
Let's go.
physical health, right? Don't damn. It's like don't maintain your composure, right? Like don't lose your cool because of the emotion you may feel related to a situation you may be experiencing, right? Like don't lose your cool, man. Maintain your composure. Remember your faith, right? Whatever your faith is. My faith tells me that life is everlasting. My faith tells me that everything that happens for a specific purpose, even if I don't understand it and can't see it, right? My faith tells me that whatever happens, right, is not happening to me but for me because I'm part of the universe. I'm part of the whole, right? So like allow what's happening to happen. Recognize when, and this when you have to like pray and meditate. You got to recognize when you got to step in and you have to do something because life happens. You are part of life, but you also are captain of your ship, right? So you can direct this thing, right? Like how we gonna go? We gonna go this way? We gonna go that way? And recognize that every decision you make, there's a consequence and repercussion. Even for the decisions that you don't make, there are consequences and repercussions, right? Because when you decide to go right, something is still happening over here on the left. We decide to go left, something is still happening over here on the right. So like recognize that. And I think lastly, man, like support creative expressions, right? Support people in your local community, support your local artists. Know that art runs the world, right? Like the world runs on art, right? You know, become more engaged in your community, figure out like issues that you care about, right? And figure out who close to you is addressing those issues and see how you can get involved, right? Maybe you can feed them, maybe you can pick the children up from school, maybe you can, like it's something that you could do, right? It's something that we all could do
Yes.
to help somebody or support somebody or to build community. Because it ain't even about helping or supporting, right? Because we all need help. But we all want the world to be a better place, so we all can contribute to that. Like we have to contribute to that. It's not the people over there is gonna do it. No, you gotta do it. You gotta do your
Yes.
part. Like
Your
you have to. Like you can't
part.
wait for the president. You can't wait for the mayor. You can't wait for this system to do it. People are hungry in their neighborhood. Figure out how to get them food.
Yes.
Figure out how to get more money to get them food. Right? Like figure it out.
Figure it
Right?
out.
Like use your brain. Right? And after that, um, um, I'm doing speaking engagement March
Got it.
9th, Saturday, March 9th in Long Island City. I'm doing a transformational talk called Dreams Do Come True. And I'm gonna talk about you know, dreams and how I manifested my dreams through all of the trials and tribulations. It's gonna be a ticketed event. I'll share it with you so you can share it with the crew.
We'll put it on the community
Put it
event
on the
page and
community
get that out there.
event page, right? I'm gonna have a flyer this week some point. And then, you know, I'll be 40 next month. I'll be 40 in March, and we're gonna have a birthday party, right?
Season, my water gang is out
I'm
here.
gonna
Let's
have a
go.
right, we're gonna have a birthday party, man, and we're gonna celebrate with some music and some just good vibes, man. You know, no alcohol at all will be served at my 40th birthday party. So come, you know, ready to just engage in some non-alcoholic beverages, right? Some good juice
Come
and
on, man.
you
Talk
know,
to him
things like
nice.
that, man. Because it's about vibrating at a higher level. So yeah, man, love yourself. You know, be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace, compassion, right? Forgive yourself for the things that you did that maybe you felt you had to at the moment, right? Know that you can't change anything in the past. All you could do is go forward and build from where you are. So lock in, man. Lock in on where you are today. Lock in on who you are today. Set a goal for yourself and like work relentlessly, tirelessly to make that shit happen. Know that like anything and everything is possible for
Yo,
you. So just believe in yourself.
Suga
Like
Ray,
have
man.
unyielding faith.
I have this very special ending for
Go
you.
ahead.
And this reminds me of us on a porch. So I'm gonna ask you to give me a couple words as we close out. And just like we did on the porch, we're gonna collaborate. If you feel like jumping in and saying
Come
something,
on.
but we're gonna end this with the music, and that was another thing I needed to do. I needed to bring it right back to you. I said I was gonna ask some of these questions with poetry. I wanted to change the interview because just interviewing you and building with you, I was like, I need to do something I've never ever done before, you know? So Suga Ray, as we close out these last overtime minutes, I want you to throw out some words and some thoughts that are just on your heart and spirit. Could be a phrase or sentence. I'm gonna run them through. If you feel like hopping back on it, you know, jump on it too. But we're gonna bring this back to the cipher. I want to reiterate a couple points. Any situation you are facing is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Collaboration is key. Any situation can be changed with the use of patience and time. Think local, think global, act local. The power of one. What is the action that you can take today, right now, that impacts the very community you are in? These are huge gems that he dropped right here. Make sure you guys look in and check into this work. Suga Ray, drop us some words and let's
Yo, peace, love, truth, freedom, and justice. Liberation. You heard, it's just us. All we got, me and you. All we got is you and me. So let's build a better world together in unity.
I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna start with that situation. To get free takes a lot of liberation. Right here, right now, that's our destination. Stay still, meditation gets you patient. Highs and lows like an addict to the basement. The day disappeared, we wonder where the day went. From tears and cries to smiles and eyes to close to see these highs and lows, and I suppose I only really see it, only start to feel it. I'm reading my brother's mind like telekinesis. But we had to get this education. We came from the street, naming the pavement. Blunt to the ashtray, had to let it go. Still gotta speak to my brother and let you know. And though the weather's cold, February got the heart, the fire in your eternal flame that is the spark. You don't need a record, maybe get a chart. Everybody speaking, know that every moment in your life is art. You the conductor, maybe the poet. And if you got something to say, baby, just show it. Now we gonna bring this to an end. I'm gonna give the last word to my friend. Suga Ray, take us home, baby.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. You gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. Just love yourself. Love yourself a little more. Love yourself a little more. Love yourself a little more. Love yourself. Love yourself a little more. Love yourself a little more. Love yourself a little more. Love yourself. Just love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. Peace.
We appreciate y'all. Shout out to my man Suga Ray. Smash that follow button if you haven't. Hit the links that he's got. Hit me up to get more info in case you haven't seen it. Shout out to everybody who took the time to watch this. We appreciate y'all. We ain't gonna take up no more of your time. This is Artivist Talk with the very legendary and honorable Lashawn Suga Ray Marston. Thank you for your time, my brother.
Appreciate you,
I
brother.
love you
Peace.
because I am you. We are one. Peace,
You know the
peace.
vibes.